Good morning, everybody. Right at the top of the hour here at 11 a.m. Eastern time. So welcome to day 2 of demo days. If you had joined day 1, you would have watched 2 of my colleagues and experts on the software side of the house, Austin Jones and Greg Singh, go through a deeper dive into Storable FMS products. Today, in day 2 of demo day, we're going to stack what it means to be using both Storable software products and some of the additional products that go on top of that. So as we go through a few of the product sets, myself for insurance, Ryan Ellis on access, and then Greg Steen again on websites, that stacking piece of products, specifically on my front of insurance, you're going to see old school, I'll call it, and new school from what it means pre and post product stacking. So keep that in mind as a theme throughout this day 2 of the demo, and we appreciate you all being here with us. So as I said, I'm going to a deeper dive into the insurance product from the Storable standpoint. And before we get into that, if you don't recognize me or we haven't worked together, I've been in the industry for 11 years now, very specific to self-storage operations and the tenant insurance side of the business. Fortunately, day 1, and I'll never forget it, I was put into a self-storage facility to understand how it operated, worked with a manager, and then shortly after started working on the best practices of training managers on tenant insurance products and the why and the how, and then on to building custom products for those operators, and now partner with the revenue and product teams to launch those out to the industry operators. Quick philanthropy plug. If you're not familiar with charity storage, I serve on that board, something else offline that we can discuss, but a great way to give back to local charities and in the self-storage industry at large. So without further ado, let's get deeper into this insurance product. And one of the pieces to start from a foundational standpoint, if you haven't been to a state show, national show demo webinar recently, the names are an important foundation for the rest of the process moving forward. So inside of the Storable house, we have the StorSmart product. It's a little over 12 years old now. It's really known for bringing the people process to the tenant insurance piece of the self-storage industry. And then you have the beta product, which is just about 40 years old. I think it's year 39 this year. And it is really known as a pioneer of the products, the tenant insurance product and pay with rent product inside of the industry. So both of those products are underneath the Property First Group agency, which joined the Storable family in 2019. So 2 themes I talked about in the beginning, asked to keep in mind as we roll through this. You have kind of pre-Storable, and you heard about some of that yesterday, the fragmentation in the marketplace, and now post-Storable, stacking some of these products together. So in the insurance world, it's incredibly unique where call it traditional, call it old school, over the counter. There's preferred rental channels, and one of those rental channels has been and may always will be for certain operations over the counter. So brick and mortar, face-to-face rental process. As you all know, from an operational standpoint, the training equals the results. The best operators in the world are some of the best training programs internally. So you look at whether it's REITs, big operators, small operators, the better the training program, the better you see the manager normally dynamically price units, buy into different concepts of the facility, whether it's discounting or occupancy, and changing all of those things for the better. There's a no more pivotal piece to the operation for an over-the-counter rental process as a preferred channel than the manager. So as that piece being the foundation for most items from a revenue standpoint of self-storage operations, it is a critical piece to the tenant insurance piece, and the foundational belief in training are kind of a necessary component to launch that successfully. So let's stack that a little bit further. So if training equals results, then belief will then in turn equal results in the tenant insurance program, again, primarily for that over-the-counter process where there's face-to-face interaction. So then the why and how, become critically important to the results of tenant insurance. So from a why standpoint, from the thousands of managers we've seen at this point, we know that there's a few levels to the why. It's is this right for my tenants? Is this right for the facility and the reputation? And what about the ownership? The person that writes the paychecks in the day. Does this program fit for those individuals? So once there's a why and how this fits, then there's a how piece of this. So we deploy a team. So if you remember the Store Smart piece of this business that's grown, we have self-storage experts, people that have run portfolios, own portfolios. They train managers on best practice. So how do I do this? How do I say this to my tenants? How does this roll out in a successful manner and go create that win-win-win scenario that you're looking at over here on the screen, where it's good for the tenants, good for the reputation, protects the manager and owner, and ultimately there's a cherry on top with good for the bottom line as well from a revenue driver standpoint. So as again, keeping that stacking process in mind, manager belief in training is an essential piece, but it really was the only piece prior to combining Storable software plus Storable insurance, which is what we're going to segue to right now. So as we get into the product piece of this, one more naming convention. We have Auto Protect as an overall product name, which will encompass Auto Protect Move-In, Auto Protect Audit, and Consumer Proof Portal. Those three things are going to work together when you stack Storable software and Storable insurance. So the first piece of this, the Auto Protect Move-In, will do a few things and put this in the spectrum of both over-the-counter or automated hub and spoke. However you run your business as a preferred rental channel, this is going to overlay there and stack on top of that training process. So what does Auto Protect Move-In do? As a tenant moves in, if they don't enroll that day or do not provide proof of insurance, the software is going to read a bunch of fields with yes, no scenarios. And if it's no on the scenarios of has provided store insurance or has enrolled in store insurance, has provided proof, there's a series of emails that are going to fire to automatically remind that tenant to do one of those two things, which I'll show you here in a visual momentarily. The other piece to this is we are increasing conversion for all different size operators. So our best operators, enterprise operators, we're seeing a leveling of consistent success rather than the ebbs and flows and peaks and valleys. So doing exactly what we'd hoped it would do is stacking it as a reinforcement on top of the manager process. And then certainly if you're running a more automated process, a consistent conversion results with the automation happening. There is a full user detailed guide on this on Zendesk. If you're interested in the more technical aspects, you can go through that piece of it as well. But in the time today, we're going to keep it a little higher level for overviewing all the products as they are right now. One layer deeper, though, that I think is really important to understand from Auto Protect Move-In is exactly the interaction with the tenant. So as many of the industry is well aware right now, the primary function of storage facilities is renting units and collecting rent. So sometimes getting that insurance through the first pass can be difficult as you're trying to get a rental and increase occupancy. So what's really, really nice about this feature is a few things. We're increasing results and conversion, which is ultimately increasing protection and income, but it's actually happening up to 14 days after the rental if that person doesn't enroll over the counter. So you're going to see a sequence here of day one. They're going to get a service email if they didn't enroll, didn't provide proof, that essentially says, hey, we saw you didn't enroll, and so please provide us proof of insurance. If you don't, we can enroll you into our program. There's a second reminder service email, and then on the third email, it'll actually enroll that individual, and all of that process is automated through the whole, all three email sequences and even the attaching of insurance. Lastly, there is a quality control piece to this that if there's some reason somebody needs exempt from the program, there is still a control to do that throughout the process. So this isn't a required, you can never stop it once it's turned on process. There is a quality control piece to this in certain use case scenarios. One other layer to this is there's automated maintenance. So once somebody moves in, let's say they provide you a State Farm policy, it expires in February 1st of 2024, January 1st of 2024, you are going to get, as a tenant, an automated reminder in the same sequence. Hey, looks like your proof's expiring. Please provide us an updated copy. If you don't, we can get you with our minimum amount of insurance offered. Second reminder email, and if that person doesn't update proof, again, from an automated maintenance standpoint, it's able to attach the store insurance to that individual. So more of an automated maintenance sequence that's happening as a secondary benefit to this Auto Protect move-in sequence. And then we're gonna move on to the second piece of Auto Protect as a product set. There's Auto Protect Audit, which is now, once you turn on Auto Protect Move-In, enables the software to automatically read statuses inside of the software to send letters to tenants, and think of it truly as an audit standpoint. So if they have good proof of insurance in force, not expired, or they're in store insurance, and they haven't been exempt from the program, they will be part of the audit that says, hey, we do this with all of our new tenants. It's in the best interest of all of our tenants. So if you do not have proof, we can get you with our proof, or you can provide us proof of insurance. And what we've seen now for turning this program on from an automation standpoint, 60% of all letters that are sent will end up in an enrollment of store insurance. You have 20 to 30% that will end up in their own private proof of insurance. And then based off your operational style, anywhere from 10 to 15% of individuals that will just say, hey, you know, I don't want to do this. And again, based off operational style, the ability to opt those people out and back them out of the program, and certainly you can consult an attorney on the liability from that standpoint of it. But all automated, again, based off of statuses inside of the software. So little to no managerial work inside of the FMS based off of the ability to automatically read statuses here. One last component to this that ties it all together is there's a self-service proof portal. So in those automatic emails that I was talking about at the move-in stage, Auto Protect move-in, there's a URL link embedded into those first two emails that gives the tenant the ability to click on that email, automatically go in, plug in proof of insurance if they have it. Again, hey, it's State Farm, February 1st, 2024 is expiration date, policy number. They're going to test it's real. They're going to test that they've reviewed it, and that's going to sync with your software. So this is another thing that you're able to pull off the manager's plate from chasing down proof of insurance. The manager plugging into the software. Now that the tenant's able to do that, and it will sync with the software based off the submission there. So those three pieces right now are Auto Protect as a overall function, but you have move-in, audit, and consumer proof portal. As you would expect, when you layer on the people component and the product component, we're getting results from an overall enrollment standpoint that are industry leading from a protection and then ultimately the income piece of it as well. We're also seeing an efficiency of return on investment, certainly because of the automation that's there, and less time vested necessary on site, where the team can focus on renting units, collecting rent, dynamically pricing units, the things that are day-to-day necessities for the operation. So last piece here, when we talk about insurance products inside of our space, remiss to not mention, we have another team that's incredibly dedicated to, you'll hear it called commercial insurance, you'll hear it called property and liability, property and casualty, but in this world, and one of the newest products added to the Storable field is a dedicated team with, when you put Storable scale, you end up with buying power with some of the relationships with the carriers, and ultimately those carrier relationships have been established for quite a long time when you bring some of the talent over to the team. Many people know Brian Bogdanoff in the industry and what he's been able to do. And in the combination of the buying power and relationships, we've ended up with quite a bit of creative solutions and cost savings in a time where premiums seem to be increasing on the commercial side of the industry. So I am running right up to time where I am going to hand it off on the insurance deep dive over to Ryan Ellis on the access deep dive, but we are going to try and jump back here at the end for some questions if time allows.
Thank you, sir. Okay, hello everyone. My name is Ryan Ellis. Thank you so much for being here with us today. I want to talk to you a little bit about access control with Storable, our in-house system, and kind of what that looks like from the very beginning of just kind of considering, do I want to put in an access control system, all the way through kind of like the ongoing process of working with Storable. So again, my name's Ryan. I'm a senior solutions architect here at Storable, and I first started with StorEdge actually about 5 years ago. And the position that I was brought on to do was the access control coordinator, kind of really get things started and kind of lift them off the ground. And the reason really that we chose to even have a position like that here at Storable is we were looking at a lot of our support cases, and a good chunk, something like 1 in 3 of all support cases that were coming through back in 2018 were related to gates and gate issues. The gate, as I'm sure a lot of people know, is a very big bottleneck. If anything happens involving that, a code doesn't work, the gate's stuck open, it's stuck shut for any reason like that, it's a big deal for the tenants, and they call you, the operator, immediately. So for us as a company to be saying 1 in 3 of all of our support tickets come through about gates, and we essentially can't help them. It's all third parties, so we have to send them to whoever the third party system is that they're using. Just made for a very bad client experience for what we were going through. So we chose to kind of create a system of our own that we could actually kind of own soup to nuts, end to end, and really not have to kick the can, so to speak, down the road if there were ever issues or problems. So we brought access control in-house. We've partnered with a hardware manufacturer called ProDataKey. That's who makes our hardware. They have a really strong API, and it allows us to do a lot of things on our end in terms of building out new features and kind of real-time communication with the devices that are on site. And the whole process really begins with like the consultation and quoting side of things. So the first step is usually someone will reach out to us, say they're interested in access control, and we got to start talking through the scope of the project. So how many keypads do you have? What's your current infrastructure? Everything really that's going to be involved in the project, we start and kind of give our assistance on there. One thing we don't have is any boots on the ground. So you really kind of get the equipment installed using whatever means you have in your local area. But then once everything has kind of been, hardware's been acquired, your install team's set up, if you have any questions or issues, you can call our support team 7 days a week. We own the process from the very beginning of not being set up all the way through, hey, I'm installed and I have an issue. It's just the same phone number for you to call. So you're not bouncing around to all these different companies. You're just sticking with the Storable support number that you already know. So the first step in this process is usually what that looks like. Is we start off with a question of very basic. Okay, how many keypads do you have? How many you're trying to restrict? That gives us a little bit of information. But again, since we don't have boots on the ground that are walking around touring your facility, a lot of times we have to do something like this, where we get on Google Maps and we do some little Microsoft Paint doodling around to say, okay, where are your actual keypads located? How far apart are they? What's the infrastructure, the guts of the building look like? Do you already have wire going everywhere, or do we have to look around at different situations? That's where we can kind of help with not only talking through that to make sure you get the right hardware quoted, so kind of the most cost-effective way to go about setting something up. We also talk through a lot of other things just related to the project in general. For example, like, hey, I have a gate with 2 keypads. Should I do an entry keypad and an exit keypad, or should I just do an entry keypad and a pressure plate for exit? What kind of gate motor should I use? What kind of pedestal should I use? Should I put in security cameras? These are all things that we're more than happy to talk about. And some of those things we don't even carry or sell or offer ourselves, but have a lot of different industry partners that we can kind of say, well, this is what we've seen other clients in our industry doing as well. We can make referrals over to other groups that maybe sell some of these products that we maybe don't carry. So just really kind of being there for you as like a consultant, giving our advice, our take on everything, while still being able to get you the hardware when it's all kind of said and done. So after we've kind of talked through, the layout of your facility, what keypads are going where, what do we kind of have in terms of installation requirements, which you quote for the actual equipment, being able to purchase directly from us can help to usually cut out some markups for different local dealers that are maybe marking up the hardware and their labor costs. So you have the option to just buy direct from us and then use your own team for the installation. I'd say the installation for our system is relatively straightforward. That's part of the benefit. There's only so many different things that can go wrong because there's not a whole lot of moving pieces and bells and whistles. That being said, I'd say it's about as complicated as changing a ceiling fan or a light fixture in your own home. So it's all low voltage stuff on our system. None of it's high voltage. You're not going to get electrocuted. You're not wiring anything up to like a breaker box or a panel. But at the same time, you probably don't want it to be your very first experience with wiring. This probably shouldn't be your very first DIY project you've ever done. But if you have a little bit of experience with wiring and everything's pretty straightforward, but even if it's not you personally doing the install and you maybe have someone on your team or on retainer that's done some wiring experience, that person is someone we can bring into those consultation calls to kind of talk through, hey, what are you seeing on site? Have you done anything like this before? Here's our install guide. Please let us know if you have questions. We can walk through that together. All of that is kind of the process of going through a Storable, from you making the buying decision to your installer, figuring out, okay, what do I have? How is this going to go in? The actual day of installation, making sure when you're paying someone to be on site, we're available to answer their questions so they get it hooked up as fast as possible. Even after they're gone, of being able to say, hey, a code's not working. All it takes is typing in some codes into the keypad with us on the phone, and we can look in and see what's happening and start to do some real-time troubleshooting. All the hardware comes with a 5-year warranty. The only requirement there is that you just always reach out to the Storable support team, because reaching out to our support team, they're going to be the ones that walk through some troubleshooting with you. But if anything does happen, like let's say there's a defective product and you have to do like a warranty replacement, our support team will act as essentially your agent. They'll get on the phone with the manufacturer, talk through the problems with them, and really explain, hey, this was a working item. Everything should be in working order, and it's not. Here's the steps we've taken to do that. And if it's verified that the device is just defective, we'll just send you a new one, and then you just ship the old one back and put it on our testing bench to try and figure out what's wrong with it. But the primary goal is getting you the new device as fast as possible. Ship you something out, all at no cost to you. We'll cover all the costs for shipping and everything there. And so with that, I would say if anyone has any questions or wants to talk through quoting or start that process, if I have this many keypads, can you start to give me an initial estimate on what my equipment's going to cost, or what I would take to install something like this, please post in the chat, send a question to us, fill out the survey that you'll receive at the end of this webinar, and we'll happily get you in touch with myself or one of our sales reps to start that process with you. It's relatively easy to get the initial quote done, so you can get some early numbers, and then we can kind of start digging into the specifics and the details from there. So now I will actually kick it over to my associate, Greg Sane, who's going to talk to us about websites today.
All right, hello everyone. Thank you very much for that introduction, Ryan. My name is Greg Sane. I have been with Storable for 4 years. I'm also the corporate trainer, so if I'm not working with the sales team, if you're already implemented and needing some training, you're probably talking to me. And I feel like I'm very at home here at Storable because I was a computer science major and a drama minor. So being able to talk about IT stuff really in my wheelhouse. And then, so yeah, I just want to go forward talking about our websites because, well, a little bit of context first is that, you know, it's a fact that the marketing landscape is changing. I mean, month over month and year over year, you know, the number of tenants who are searching online to find which storage facility to give, you know, their money to, that's more than doubled since 2018. And it's a fact that 87% of Americans own a computer and 85% of Americans own a smartphone. So having a website is more important than ever. And having the right kind of website to make sure to bring the tenants to you is really how you're going to have your business thrive. So Storable websites are specifically made with two purposes in mind. I mean, we want to get tenants to your site, and then we want to make the lead generation process as easy and safe and secure as possible. Our websites only work if customers find them, and you know, people need to like them. But search engines also need to like them to steer people towards you. You know, we've got to be made for both, and Storable is made for both real humans and for, you know, Google's robots alike. So when talking about Google's robots, you know, if you've been in the industry, you have probably heard the flashy phrase SEO, which is our search engine optimization. That's the name of the online marketing game. SEO, or search engine optimization, is the process of increasing the number of visitors to your website by ensuring that your site appears as high on the list of results returned by a search engine, you know, like Google. And Storable does this by capitalizing on a couple of the major CEO factors, mainly mobile device adaptability. We work on optimized web page structure, especially on the back end. And we also need to make sure that it's interactive content to, you know, promote comfortable interactivity for the user. So the first thing is that Storable uses to make both humans and SEO, you know, really feel alike and to make them both happy is the mobile adaptability. Our sites are made to adapt to both like your desktop computers as well as your mobile phones to ensure that there's a consistent and easy browsing experience. You don't need two different websites. It's just one, and with 85% of Americans utilizing smartphones, it's really important for you and your business to be available to your tenants however they might be trying to reach you. Now, talking about what Google is looking for, Storable knows like the algorithm and knows what, you know, it's actually a ridiculous algorithm. It takes in like 206 factors or something like that. It's absolutely nuts. And I do not have the time or the energy to be able to go over all of them, but some of the things on the back end that are really important are, for instance, the content of your website, you know, the right keywords in the right places. But there's also back end things like, you know, meta tags or your Google My Business, Google Analytics, you know, social media connection, you know, your backlinks that are solid and in the places on your site where Google is expecting to find them. So we know our stuff. We know what is trying to do to make sure that everything is coming to you the right way and as often as possible. Now, our website not only takes full advantage of Google's algorithm, but we also make your site user-friendly and easy to navigate. You can have current tenants log in and pay their bills, and you can also have new customers, create a lead or perform a full-on move-in complete with, required auto pay enrollment or e-leases for them to sign. And with our website's direct integration with other storable softwares like Storage and SiteLink, any updates to your unit's availability inside of the software that you make, if it's pricing or, if, you go from temperature controlled to climate controlled. When you make a change in the software, it immediately changes on the website. Alternatively, when tenants are online making a payment, it immediately shows up on your software. And then in that same direction, whenever there's a new tenant, when you have that new tenant information and the e-leases are created, they show up in your database, and you could, be at home, you could be on a vacation, if you've got your email set up, you can get an email alert, oh, someone just moved in online, and you can see that kind of information. So being able to have that kind of connectivity and interactivity at whatever level that you're comfortable with, that's, we want to be available however you might need to have access to your business. Now, we don't want to just give you a website and then throw you to the wolves. We don't expect you to be SEO experts or web design artists. If you'd like to log in on the back end and edit your website, update the pictures or edit the text, it's a very easy point, click, save type of integration. It's very easy to work with. But we also, it takes all kinds to make a world. If you also want to be hands-off and you just want to submit a request to our support team, we are absolutely happy to, see your website, make the updates for you. Hey, how does this look? You can have whatever level of involvement you want in how your website looks. The final thing that I want to touch on is, for more competitive markets, we do also provide DMS, or what's called digital marketing services. And these, there are a lot of things that we offer, but like the big points would be, like listings management. If you've got third-party sites, when there's customer reviews everywhere, to make sure that like your address is right on like, Yelp or wherever, we want to make sure that the information is concurrent. We also have pay-per-click, which basically helps target, it basically leads to higher quality leads with tailored targeted campaigns and tracking the performance to make sure that, oh, this avenue works, or maybe we don't need to do this, and we're working on that for you. And then just the last thing is ongoing SEO. I mean, when there are little tweaks to Google's algorithm, we are on top of it, and we make sure that we're going to keep your website optimized to make sure that it is performing at peak efficiency for your search results. So it's a pretty high level overview, but basically whatever involvement that you want, whatever comfort of, we just want leads or we want full-on move-ins. There's definitely a gradient, and storable websites are made for that in mind. So yeah, that kind of brings us to the end of our initial presentations. I know that was kind of a lot of information from me and my two associates, but we have been getting some questions in the questions area here on GoToWebinar. So we're going to switch to that and make sure that we can get these questions to you as best as possible. Let's see what kind of questions we had come in here. Oh, did that? Yes, there we go.
So Greg, I can take the first one here on the insurance side of it. So I'll actually take two because one's really easy. The first question was asked about the more in-depth technical help article for Auto Protect. So I believe that link was shared with the individual that asked that question. But if you type in Auto Protect, Storage, and Zendesk in Google, just as an easy pathway, you'll see the help article that goes very technical into some of the items that I was reviewing. So that's a good resource if you want to look at the technicalities of setup and how that transacts through each process with images beside it. The second one was a question that comes up quite frequently, and I could probably take a 15-minute webinar to go deep into this one too, but I'll try and give the best answer I can in the time allotted. So of those features that are reviewed, the question was, are they currently only with Storable insurance and Storable software? And the answer to that question is yes. And the reason to that, as it stands today, is it's incredibly difficult from a compliance standpoint when you don't manage the insurance program with the carrier to be able to keep the dynamic consumer protection and carrier relationships to a level that's acceptable by all of the governing bodies with a financial product. So when you own both processes, you have the ability to not only manage the carrier relationship and expectations for what is transacting through the software experience, but also from a compliance standpoint in each state and what they require. One example of that would be those email reminders have to have dynamic links that go to state-specific, rate-specific brochures that the state has approved. So there's an incredibly technical compliance aspect to the automation that's necessary, and as of right now, why it's exclusive to Storable software plus Storable insurance. Ryan, do you want to jump in with some of the access control questions I see here? I think we're working to get Ryan off of mute here.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yep, you're good.
Can you hear me?
You're good.
Okay, wonderful. Yes, thank you. We got a couple of questions in about the access control stuff, so let me just kind of jump right into those. So the first question we got is, will this integrate with the Noki smart entry system Bluetooth technology? So the answer to that question is essentially yes. What will happen there is the Noki smart entry system is primarily designed to be like Bluetooth locks, but at the unit level. So when a tenant comes in, their app is through the Noki system is what's going to open their actual unit. We do have some people that have that integrated with like their storage software, and then also have our access control system integrated with their software. So as far as like the keypads and the general access points for the facility, that would be done with like our keypads, and then that's all tracked inside of the software and connected to your software. And then the actual unit level access for the tenants is done through the Noki system. So you can run them side by side if you'd like to, because they both integrate with the facility management software. The next question that we have on here is pretty similar. It's what brand of hardware do you use for access controls? Is it PDK? Is it PTI? And the answer is ProData Key, PDK. That's the hardware we use for our in-house system. That being said, there are several third-party companies. Just like before, we still integrate with kind of some of the same major players that have been in the industry. So like your PTIs, your Open Tech Alliance, you can still use those systems and still integrate with the StorageEdge system. We just also have a system using the PDK hardware that you would then have complete kind of the full process run through Storable. Whereas if you choose to use a different partner like PTI and OpenTech, you would do that whole process through them. You'd still use your management software through us. You would just then have a different company that you're doing things like purchasing hardware from, calling for support, or any issues like that involving the gate. And so those are the only access control questions I see coming through, but please feel free to reach out if you have any more, and we'll cover them.
Absolutely. Thank you, Ryan. I do see that there are a couple of website questions. It says, when you were talking about integration with other Storable products between Storable, StorageEdge, and SiteLink, are they the same softwares or different? So yeah, so Storable is the software company, or is the company overall, whereas StorageEdge is one management software and SiteLink is a separate management software. And then, you know, we also have access as a third thing, and websites and insurance. So StorageEdge and SiteLink are different types of softwares, and because they are under the Storable umbrella, integrating with them is, you know, immediate and seamless. So yeah, by getting that distinction out of the way, thank you for asking. The other one is, what's the monthly cost for the website? And so it depends on the number of facilities you have. So, I mean, you could be one facility with 80 units, you could be one facility with 800 units. It's still one facility. So it is $200 a month per facility. So the number of facilities you have, you know, obviously there's more integrations, more databases and whatnot, but yep, so that's the base price. Let's see, I think I see another insurance question here. And it might be the last question that we have time for. I really appreciate everybody sticking with us today. This has been a great involvement. We look forward to reaching out to you soon.
Thanks, Greg. Yeah, I'll take the last one's an easy one too. So StoreSmart and Bader, the question was, are they integrated with SiteLink and Storage? The answer to that is yes. So all of those features that I just reviewed, Storable software plus Storable insurance, are available on both SiteLink and Storage. And so either one will work through all of those auto protect features that we reviewed today. And just to piggyback on what Greg said, really appreciate everybody taking the time to go through the stacking of the products from yesterday into today through the 2 demo days. I think you'll see almost all of us between the past 2 days here at the national show in Vegas coming up in September. So feel free to stop out, see us, get into some more of the details of the products. I'd be happy to catch up with you all there. Appreciate the time.